So I found this book, Spiritual Teaching of Ramana Maharshi. I want to talk about it. I picked up at the library very nearby and just opened one page and then, this makes sense. But the making sense is not the point of spirituality, but still being able to digest with some framework, I think it may be meaningful. So I didn't think about it, but then I found that the Carl Jung had the foreword, and I read that skimming, not all of them, but the first lines here and there. He also had the much longer than this, foreword for Daisetsu's book. I think that was Introduction to Zen Buddhism. And I know the story of Daisetsu met Carl Jung with Okamura-san and said something about the encounter, but I'm not going to touch on that one. So I read a couple pages and then Carl Jung's comment, and maybe I'll start with Carl Jung because that's what I read just a minute ago. And he's talking about the background of Ramana Maharshi and talking about the self is the one, the big letter S is what he points. And Carl Jung was saying the identification of the self with God will strike the European as shocking. And you see the example of the self because I read that, and maybe I'll find something in here. Okay, this is one of the pages. There is no reaching the self. And you can think of self as the heart or the nature's way. Then you may find this is more comprehensible, at least in my view. So there's no reaching in the self. If the self were to be reached, it would mean that the self is not here and now, but it is yet to be obtained. I don't like the word obtain, but it's okay. So the question I was asking about how to reach the self, and he's saying that the self is not here if you reach for it. It's the same common saying. If you look for it, you cannot find it. Like a Zen saying, or the Bhima Kilti. If you look for the core of what it is, you cannot find it. It's just like the brain has a limit. You're looking for it, you never find it. So basically, he's saying the same thing. What is got afresh will also be lost. So it will be impermanent. What is not permanent is not worth striving for. So I say the self is not reached. You are the self. That's the point. You are the way of nature. I call it the eternal home. You are already there. So this is the paradox. The fact is you are ignorant of your blissful state. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that he is talking. So that's about the self. And back to the Carl Jung. So that notion of self has to be clarified. The goal of Eastern practices is the same as that of Western mysticism. I can think of the Meister Eckhart. The focus is shifted from the I to the self, from man to God. This means that the I disappears in the self and the man in God. So it is it. But again, if you just read it, you don't get it. You just have to find it. So that's the reason for the core, for example, the paradox. You have to go beyond. You have to go beyond the brain. As long as the I sense lasts, I meaning the ego, I sense lasts, so long are true knowledge and liberation impossible. It's a basic structure. The Eastern nations are threatened by a quick this integration of their spiritual goods and what comes into their place cannot always be considered to belong to the best of the Western mind. So that's kind of obvious. West can truly clear away many evils, the destruction of which seems to be very desirable and advantageous. But as experience has shown, this progress is bought too dearly with the loss of spiritual culture. It is undoubtedly more comfortable to dwell in a well-ordered and hygienically furnished house, but that does not answer the question as to who is the dweller in this house and whether his soul enjoys similar state of order and purity. That is like that of the house serving for external life. Let's pick this one too. The wisdom and mysticism of the East have, therefore, a very great deal to tell us, provided they speak in their own inimitable speech. So I think Jung's getting the idea as much as he spent his foreword for like maybe 15 pages when he gave a foreword for that book in Introduction to Zen Buddhism. But back to the Ramana Maharshi saying about the self that is what it is, and he has more. And the questioner asks, what is the use of Samadhi? Samadhi is a calm and quiet mind, no self, no mind, basically. When we say no mind, nobody knows what the meaning of it, because we only have mind. It may be the answer. But the no mind is pointing the calm and quiet mind, like now. There's nothing in my mind. So it's the meditation they train you to focus on breathing, for example, and when the thought comes back, then back to focus. Start again, which I did with the Vipassana. So that's Samadhi, Shila Samadhi Panya. Samadhi is the basis. Shila is the good discipline. I think that's the way I call it. And then Shila Samadhi. Then comes the Panya, which is the wisdom. So Samadhi alone can reveal the truth. Thoughts cast a veil over reality. See? And so it is not realized as such in states other than Samadhi. In Samadhi there is only the feeling, I am. And the term I am again is, who is that I? Meaning the self, meaning that eternal home, the nature's way, everything as it is. That's I am. I am that I am. So no thought. Thus experience I am is being still. Yeah, that's right. Let me read this. So there's a question, how can I repeat the experience of Samadhi or the stillness that I obtain here? And Maharshi says, your present experience is due to the influence of the atmosphere in which you find yourself. Can you have it outside this atmosphere? The experience is spasmodic. Until it becomes permanent, practice is necessary. So let me read this one. The normal self is the mind. The typical notion of self is the mind. This mind is with limitations, but pure consciousness is beyond limitations, and it is reached by investigation as above outlined. So the self is always there. It's the home, eternal home. That's what I call. You have only to remove the veil obstructing the revelation of the self. So it's a continuous practice, if you want to call that. But there's no one practicing it because we don't need to practice. Just empty out. I wish I can ring the bell. It's sitting there. Let's do that. Because that would be one way to bring this idea into practice. So it's the condition of the mind that we want to get out of. The condition of the mind is asking the question, what is self and who is it? How can I get it? How do I not lose it? Because it's all mind working. So just listen to this. And especially when the sound goes nothing, it seems like you get kind of drawn into it. So that's the story of Ramana Maharshi. And you can find his video and you can start looking for ways which is within yourself. And that's a struggle because we are so much used to the brain, self, justification, objectivity, but what's inside is pristine nature's miracle functioning in us. May all beings be happy. You have a good day.